Hello. Good morning to everybody. Today I'm going to talk about meat, especially about the fats in meat. There is a general concept, there is a great concern among consumers that the fat in meat is very dangerous, and so we should try to reduce the quantity of meat that is being consumed, or that we should select those meats which contains much less fat. However, let us try to understand the actual facts, actual scientific facts behind all these notions. There is a general concern that the fats in meat is related to the cardiovascular diseases. That is basically because there was a hypothesis which was evolved in few decades back, stating that the fat is related to the cardiovascular diseases. Well, of course, in the recent past, there had been a lot of research in this area, and that hypothesis had been questioned very well, and we find that it is no more true, and we have to change our concept about our diet. Meat, as all of you know, is a versatile food item which is liked by large majority of the population in all the countries. Fat is an integral component of meat, and that is linked to the sensory properties of the meat, which are actually the juiciness, flavor, and texture that we actually realize when you consume meat. Fat, of course, is determining the eating quality of meat. It, of course, supplies essential fatty acids which cannot be synthesized by the human body. That is the most important thing, because it supplies the essential fatty acids which are required for our health. Meat, of course, has an excellent satiety value compared to the carbohydrates. So, meat consumption will actually reduce the quantity and volume of the food that we consume. Fat, of course, influences the satiety value of meat. The essential fatty acids are actually the polyunsaturated or PUFA, polyunsaturated fatty acids, mainly belonging to the omega-3 and omega-6 derivatives. Both are actually essential for our health in a specific ratio. Vegetable oils contain the omega-6 parent linoleic acid, and that is why we get more of omega-6 when we consume vegetarian diet. But even when we get the omega-3 parent linoleic acid through our diet, we cannot synthesize omega-3 derivatives, especially the long-chain omega-3 derivatives. Meat is a very significant source of omega-3 derivatives. They are actually absent in vegetarian diet, basically because the plants cannot produce these long-chain omega-3s. Studies have shown that vegetarians have lower omega-3 intake as well as significantly lower omega-3 is to omega-6 ratio in their body compared to the non-vegetarians. The absence of these long-chain omega-3 derivatives, which are actually cardioprotective, the absence of which is the reason for the increased platelet aggregation tendency seen among the vegetarians. And that, of course, is a risk factor for the cardiovascular diseases. Fish, of course, is considered as a very good source of omega-3 derivatives. But the red meat is definitely a very good source, or even a better source of omega-3s. Meat in general supplies 19% omega-3s and 17% omega-6. Because of the lipid hypothesis, there had been considerable reduction in the intake of meats, especially the red meats, in many of the countries. But during the same period, when we consider the total number of coronary heart diseases, we find that there is absolutely no reduction in the incidence of these heart problems among those people who have reduced their intake of red meats. One of the main misconceptions about the meat fat is that almost all the fat in meat is saturated. But the reality is entirely different. We find that the saturated fats in meat is less than 50% of the total fats available in meat. The rest of the fat in meat are either monounsaturated or polyunsaturated fatty acids. Another thing is regarding the saturated fats. Even the major saturated fats in meat do not have any relation. They are actually neutral. And so they don't influence the blood cholesterol level in the body. We must know that meat is a rich source of long-chain polyunsaturated fatty acid derivatives like docosahexaenoic acid and icosapentaenoic acids, which are really very important in the role of development of the central nervous system, and also it influences the blood clotting, and it is anti-inflammatory response. Ruminant meat is a very rich source of another important component. It is called as the conjugated linoleic acid. Conjugated linoleic acid, which that has shown to be anti-carcinogenic, anti-atherosclerotic, immunomodulating, growth promoting, and lean body mass enhancing properties. So there has been a lot of research which has been undertaken to improve the quantity of the CLA available in the meat. That is basically, we find that by including more green grass in their diet, we can increase the CLA content, omega-3 content, and the vitamin E content in meat. Another concept which is generally prevalent among the people is that meat contains so much of fat. It is not true. Of course, when you examine the meat available in foreign countries, we find that those meats have more fat content. That is basically because they select and breed animals solely for meat purpose alone. So their meat, of course, have higher percentage of fat, but of late they have developed dietary regimes and meat merchandising modulations to reduce the fat content to the desired levels. Now, the meat available in India is entirely different type. Basically because we don't have meat type of animals bred and reared for meat purpose, except of course in the case of pigs. So we use the dairy type of animals at the fag end of their productive life for meat purpose. So actually the meat available in India is having very low content of fat. That is, we have found that it is about 2 to 4%. You don't find more than 4% fat in any of the meat available in India. And also, the lean meat, actually we can consider that meat as a lean meat. And the cholesterol content in lean meat, in 100 grams you take, it's only 60 milligrams of cholesterol present in lean meat. Whereas, of course, you consider nuts or egg or any other prawns or any other matter like that, you find that if you take 100 grams of that, you have much more, double that or triple that of cholesterol available in the meat, in such food products. So that is the another advantage with Indian meat is that we don't have animals basically raised on grains. We have, of course, paddy lands, grass fields, and we feed them with agricultural waste and green grass. So the fat content is much less and the vitamin content will be more than that is required. So meat is generally a very rich source of protein, fatty acids, vitamins and minerals. So I will talk about the other aspects in a different video. Today I wanted to specifically talk about the fat. Thank you all.